Hi, and welcome to the Oikos Family Podcast. I'm Sonja Wood, and this is Season 7, Episode 3 of Tom White the Postboy. This is a little story from one of our Oikos classics that we are sharing with you here, one chapter at a time, on these podcasts. Of course, the whole audiobook is available wherever audiobooks are distributed. So if you want to listen to the whole audiobook in its entirety, you can do so by just doing a Google search for Tom White the Postboy audiobook. Anyway, in today's chapter 3, we can get some lessons from this one regarding making right choices. That's one. In fact, the whole theme, I would say, of Tom White the Postboy is about making correct choices along life's path. But this one is also covering a little more topics such as hard work and spending wisely and being careful with that. That's what's covered in this chapter 3. So I'm going to leave it at that so that the chapter can play out here and you can listen to it. And I do hope you'll find some value in it. Thanks for stopping by.
The rephrasing. Some years after he was settled, he built a large new barn. All the workmen were looking forward to the usual holiday of rephrasing. On this occasion it was a custom to give a dinner to the workmen, with so much liquor after it that they got so drunk they not only lost the remaining half-day's work, but they were not always able to work the following day. Mrs. White provided a plentiful dinner for rephrasing, and gave each man his mug of beer. After a hearty meal, they began to grow noisy for more drink. The farmer said, "My lads, I don't grudge you a few gallons of ale merely for the sake of saving my liquor, though that is some consideration, especially in these hard times. But I never will, knowingly, help any man to make a beast of himself. I am resolved to break through a bad custom. You are now well refreshed. If you will go cheerfully to your work, you will have half a day's pay to take on Saturday night, more than you would if this afternoon were wasted in drunkenness. For this your families will be the better. Whereas, were I to give you more liquor, when you have already had enough, I should help to rob them of their bread. But I wish to show you that I have your good at heart full as much as my own profit. If you will now go to work, I will give you all another mug at night when you leave off. Thus your time will be saved, your families helped, and my ale will not go to make reasonable creatures worse than brute beasts." Here he stopped. "You are in the right on't, master," said Tom the thatcher. "You are a hearty man, farmer," said John Plain the carpenter. "Come along, boys," said Tim Brick the mason. So they all went merrily to work, fortified with a good dinner. There was only one drunken, surly fellow that refused, who was Dick Guzzle the smith. Dick never works above 2 or 3 days in a week, and spends the others at the Red Lion. He swore that if the farmer did not give him as much liquor as he liked at rephrasing, he would not strike another stroke, but would leave the job unfinished, and he might get work where he could. Farmer White took him at his word, and paid him off directly, glad enough to get rid of such a sot, whom he had only employed from pity to a large and almost starving family. When the men came for their mug in the evening, the farmer brought out the remains of the cold ham. They made a hearty supper, and thanked him for having broke through a foolish custom, which was afterwards much left off in that parish, though Dick would not come into it, and lost most of his work in consequence. Farmer White's labourers were often complaining that things were so dear that they could not buy a bit of meat. He knew it was partly true, but not entirely, for it was before these very hard times that their complaints began. One morning he stepped out to see how an outhouse which he was thatching went on. He was surprised to find the work at a standstill. He walked over to the thatcher's house. "Tom," said he, "I desire that piece of work may be finished directly. If a shower comes, my grain will be spoiled." "Indeed, master, I shan't work today, nor tomorrow neither," said Tom. You forget that 'tis Easter Monday, and tomorrow is Easter Tuesday. And so, on Wednesday, I shall thatch away, master. But 'tis hard if a poor man, who works all the year, may not enjoy these few holidays, which come but once a year. Tom, said the farmer, when these days were first put into our prayer book, the good men who ordained them to be kept little thought that the time would come when holy day should mean drunken day. How much do you think now I shall pay you for this piece of thatch? Why, you know, master, you have let it to me by the grate. I think between this and tomorrow night, as the weather is so fine, I could clear about 4 shillings, after I've paid my boy. But thatching does not come often, and other work is not so profitable. Very well, Tom. And how much now do you think you may spend in these 2 holidays? Why, master, if the ale is pleasant and the company merry, I do not expect to get off for less than 3 shillings. Tom, can you do pounds, shillings, and pence? I can make a little score, master, behind the kitchen door, with a bit of chalk, which is as much as I want. Well, Tom, add the 4 shillings you would have earned to the 3 you intend to spend. What does that make? Let me see. 3 and 4 make 7. 7 shillings, master. Tom, you often tell me the times are so bad that you can never buy a bit of meat. Now here is the cost of 2 joints at once, to say nothing of the sin of wasting time and getting drunk. I never once thought of that, said Tom. Now, Tom, said the farmer, if I were you, I would step over to Butcher Jobbins and buy a shoulder of mutton, which, being left from Saturday's market, you will get a little cheaper. This I would make my wife bake in a deep dish full of potatoes. I would then go to work, and when the dinner was ready, I would go and enjoy it with my wife and children. You need not give the mutton to the children. The potatoes will have all the gravy and be very savoury for them. Aye, but I've got no beer. Master, the times are so hard that a poor man can't afford to brew a drop of drink now as we used to do. Times are bad, and malt is very dear, Tom. And yet both don't prevent you from spending 7 shillings in keeping holiday. Better take a part of the money and get a bushel of malt, which your wife may brew, and take a cup of your own beer at home, which will do you more good than a gallon at the Red Lion. I have a great mind to take your advice, master, but I shall be made such fun of at the Lion. They will so laugh at me if I don't go. Let those laugh that win, Tom. But, master, I have got a friend to meet me there. Then ask your friend to come and eat a bit of your cold mutton at night. And here is 6 for another pot, if you will promise to brew a small cask of your own. Thank you, master, and so I will. And I won't go to the Lion. Come, boy, bring the helm and fetch the ladder. And so Tom was upon the roof in the twinkling of an eye.